What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Elsperman. I am your host. I'm a coach, entrepreneur, and speaker here to transform the way that you see purpose. If you're new here, this is the space where we dive into all things high performer mindset, activating your soul's purpose, and impact-driven entrepreneurship so that you can create a movement that magnetizes millions, baby. And I'm so excited to have you in this space. I'm always excited to have you to these podcast episodes. And today's episode is a heavy hitter, baby. It is going to pierce straight through. It's quick, it's short, it's to the point. And we are going to be getting into how to actually build confidence. How to build confidence. We're demystifying confidence and we're taking it beyond just be confident. You just need to believe in yourself and believe in who you are, and that age-old advice that never fucking works. It just doesn't work. It's not enough. And to me, it's lazy advice. So we are revamping confidence, and I'm actually going to give you a tangible way to start creating confidence that doesn't just last for 5 minutes of when you're listening to this, but it lasts for the eternity of your career and of your business. If you have been craving the clarity in your business and that next level of confidence where you're like, I know exactly who I am, I know what it is that I'm here to do, and I will freaking own that to any person I talk to, that level of confidence that makes you truly unfuckwithable to any challenge, rejection, or anything that might come your way, and allows you to be absolutely magnetic as a leader in your own expertise. This is the episode for you. We're going to base your confidence on more than just what you do, but who you are, and do that incredibly tangibly. Make sure that you listen all the way to the end, because I'm going to be unveiling something and giving you guys a very special gift all the way at the end that I haven't talked about publicly. I haven't given it to anybody else. You guys are the first to know on the podcast. So make sure you stay until then. All right, my dears, that's all that I'm going to give you. Okay, let's just head into the podcast episode. I cannot wait for you to receive this and walk away feeling even more confident than you do right now. And before we get into it, if you are listening to this and you have absolutely loved the podcast and you tune into the Fully Alive podcast, or maybe it's your first time here, it would make my heart so freaking happy and expanded if you took about 5 seconds and gave this a rating and review wherever you are listening to it, whether it's on Apple or Spotify. It truly does A, help give us feedback for what's working and what you're enjoying. B, it helps this message get out to more people so that even more people can feel confident in their own genius, and therefore we can change the freaking world. I can only imagine what would happen if every human in this world were truly aligned with their purpose and confident in it. To me, it'd be pretty freaking amazing. So thank you so much. I'm so beyond blessed to have you in this space, and let's head into the podcast episode. So to start, I'm going to tell you things that you already know. And you might be like, Steph, what do you mean? I came to this podcast to learn something. I so hear you. We're going to build off of what you know. However, we have to set the foundation first. Everything I do is with purpose and intention. However, you might have already heard these words before. And if you have, let them be the greatest reminder for exactly what you need today. Let these words wash over you as the activation of your own power of, yes, that's right. And that's exactly what I needed. Okay. And then we're going to build from there. So what you already know is that your confidence forms the basis of your success. If we don't have full confidence in the movement that you're here to create, or the work that you're here to do, or the genius that you have within your life, who is going to create that confidence for you? Who is just going to hand you the opportunity and say, here, maybe this will give you confidence, right? It's the very thing that builds the foundation for the rest of your success. You have to be convicted first. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Because that confidence is what gives you that sensation of magnetism where people are like, I don't know what it is that you're on. I don't know what it is that you even do, but I know that we need to work together. How do I get in closer proximity to you? Here's an opportunity, right? It creates that level of stickiness where doors start to open up in your reality. And I'm giggling because just the other day, I was in Florida with Laura. You know her, you love her. She's who I do Unplugged with. And we were at the gym and we were just going about our gym, but we were being our full selves and carrying ourselves in the energy that we typically carry ourselves. And a woman came up to us and she said, I want whatever you guys took this morning. And I say that and we were like, Oh, it's just sisterhood. We were also talking in British accents the entire weekend. It's great. However, it was that sensation of when you walk into a room so filled up by who you are, your baseline magnetism increases. Where you can just go out, be living your life, doing the normal things, and there's an energy about you where people are like, there is something different there. There's something that is powerful in that, and they can feel it and they can sense it. Right? That's the basis of your magnetism. Not only your magnetism, but your confidence builds authority and trust. So if you are in a workplace where you're like, I want my expertise to be fully seen and understood, are you understanding and fully seeing your own expertise? If you want to move from the friend zone to the end zone, baby, with clients who have maybe been circling in your orbit, are you creating the authority and trust needed to get there by your own confidence? Right? People follow certainty, especially when they themselves may be wavering or they might have a question. And so when you create certainty in yourself through your own confidence, you become that pillar where people see their power and you reflect back to them their own power as well. Power sees power, power meets power, which then creates opportunity for growth in the future. So if you're here to create a movement, your confidence is the spark that ignites that fire. You have to have it first. Remember, you are the magnet for your movement. You are the center that everything else is attracted to. And that's not to say you have to be perfect every single day. However, there has to be a baseline understanding of your own confidence and what it is that you bring that is different than the rest. Not that you have to wildly recreate the wheel, but there has to be something within you where you're like, this is good. This is so freaking good. I know what it is that I bring to the table. I know who I am and I know how I serve in this world. Because if you're just speaking and you're just spewing and you don't fully believe every single word that you are saying, people can smell hollow words from a mile away. When you fully believe it, you inspire people to actually move because you are moved by it first. And it has to be self-sourced because the truth is nobody's going to come out and hand you your confidence. I wish I could come and hand every single one of you who's listening to this podcast a huge dose of confidence and you never have to look for it again. You never have to activate it in your life again. However, it is the most powerful when you create it from the inside out. Most of the time, I will see people who are reliant on external validation for their own sensation of confidence. And they say, well, Steph, I just need to work a little bit harder and then I'll be confident. I need to have this opportunity and then I'll be confident. Or I need somebody else to tell me that I'm really good at it and then I'll be confident. And to that, I say, of course, external validation helps confidence. We would be lying if we didn't say that somebody telling you that you are good at something or having 5 years of experience in something doesn't give confidence. It totally 110% does. However, what is the precursor to external validation? And if you want to turbocharge your path and close that gap and be seen as the expert even faster, it's through your own confidence. Because again, imagine somebody who walks in, they say, oh, well, I'm pretty good at this. And some days I fall off, but I think it's pretty good and I think it can help you. Versus somebody who walks in, they say, this is exactly my genius. I take every single opportunity that's handed my way. I spin it, I make it work in your favor. Hand me any single challenge. I've got this. This is exactly what I do. This is exactly how I can serve you. Let's freaking go. That sort of confidence, right? That is what is a match for people saying, oh my gosh, you have no idea what you just did, but you changed my life because you respect your work first. You respect and have ownership in your abilities first. It becomes a match for other people seeing that as well. And it's not from a place of being cocky or being better than others at all. Your confidence allows you to see the power in other people. It's the understanding that we are all unique. We all have our own genius, and I own mine, right? So if you want to build external validation in your world and results that then amplify your confidence even more, that comes through action. How do we create better actions? We create better belief and confidence within ourselves, right? When you're feeling fully filled up by what it is that you do, you're going to take different actions than you've done before. As you take those different actions, you're feeling confident, you generate momentum. That momentum then garners the external validation where you have more opportunities for success. So your external validation is a byproduct of your confidence. Of course, it can come over time by just putting in the work, but it's going to take 10 times longer than if you fully own it first, put in the same amount of work, you get there faster. Okay. So here's why I said that I'm going to tell you things that you already know. Most people will say you have to be confident if you want to turbocharge the success and results within your life, and stop there. You have to be confident before you get the results, before you have the achievements. You have to be confident to create your movement, and then stop there. That is great. However, to me, in my eyes, it's lazy advice. It is 100% lazy advice. Why? Because confidence based on what? You're like, Steph, that all sounds really great, but how do I actually be confident? Where does that confidence come from? Does it come out of thin air? Does a fairy godmother just come and drop it on my lap? And so if we don't have a full understanding on what to base our confidence off of, it's like trying to launch on unstable ground. It's like trying to drive a car with shitty tires. Right? Confidence needs a solid ground to stand on. How often have you been given that advice of like, well, you just have to be confident? And then you're like, okay, well, I'll work on my own self-belief, I guess. But without the actual tangibility for how to build that confidence within yourself, it is fucking lazy. And I'm just so tired of it because I see it all the time. And it creates this cycle where I see high performers, people who are so incredibly capable, walking around feeling not enough, feeling like they should know how to get themselves over this hump and be confident because they have all of the external results in the world. Yet for some reason, they're still not feeling it. And they're like, I should be confident. I know you should be confident because guess what? Confidence takes deeper digging. Of course, there is an element, and I'll be so honest, there is an element where when you are fully connected with yourself, for me, it's my connection to something greater. There's confidence that just moves through you. There's a sureness and a faith that moves through you when you're relying on something greater than just yourself. However, when it comes to you being the vessel for that, there's an added layer of confidence by you knowing you. You knowing you. I say all of this to let you know that you're not wrong. If you have been told that advice of, well, you just have to be confident, or you have to be so sure in your abilities before you put something out in the world, you have to be so sure of your program before it becomes a success, but that advice just stops there, you're not wrong. If you haven't fully felt confident, there's nothing wrong with you. We just actually have to take time and slow down and intentionally get deeper. And I was the person who, for the longest time, I thought confidence and self-love and knowing myself was a complete farce. Some of you probably know my story if you've been on the podcast before, but I grew up modeling and I grew up being a high performer who had all of the accolades that I could possibly ever need to feel like I was confident. I had the friends, the lifestyle, all the wonderful things. Yet still, I felt like the least confident person in the room. This continued following me all the way through my career into business. Where I was like, well, I'm doing all of the things. I know that I'm good at what I do, but for some reason, the dots are not connecting within my brain. Why am I not fully feeling confident? Until I figured out what exactly was unique to me, the thread that was woven through my entire life that gave me the basis for my confidence. That is your X factor, which is what we're going to be diving into in this podcast. Is you have to understand the unique traits, skills, abilities that you bring into the world and how that combination of them creates your own genius to actually base your confidence off of and say, I know exactly what it is that I'm here to do. You can look at my track record, look at my childhood, look at my career, look at my experiences. All of these different pieces have been building. And this is what I know that I'm incredibly good at and is my magic in the world. I recently had a client come in for a deep dive session. She's an alumni client that I've worked with before. And she came in for a one-off. And she said, Steph, well, I have the dream job that I wanted for so long. I have the lifestyle. I'm living how I wanted to live. But for some reason, I don't feel confident enough to really own my expertise. I can do all the things. I have all the accolades, but my identity hasn't yet caught up to my external reality. And I said, well, that makes total sense because you can have all the skills, but if we don't actually take the time to slow down and to look at the exact thing and the key ingredient that makes you different than the rest, makes sense that you don't have confidence. Because sometimes there can be a quantum lag time for your identity to catch up to your reality. And this is where I say, enter the X factor. And so in order to close that gap and catch your identity up to all the things that you've created and actually own your level of confidence that you know is possible for you, that you know is the basis of your greatest success, we have to get clear on this one thing called your X factor, baby. Okay, so let's break it down even more. What the heck is your X factor? So if you're in business, you've probably heard of your unique value proposition. It is a unique take on a typical industry, something that differentiates you such that it gives people a new opportunity in something that has been done before. So it's not completely reinventing the wheel, but bringing a new take on something in the world that differentiates you from the rest and creates this open lane for you to create success within your business. Okay. Same is true with yourself and your own personal brand. You are the leader of your movement. You are the leader of your business and your career trajectory. So there is an intrinsic quality about you that you might think, well, doesn't everyone do that? Or doesn't everyone have that? No, that's your own unique innate genius or your X factor. And when you can uncover this quality of yourself and then unique magic that you bring into the world, it forms the tangible basis for your confidence, an actual solid ground to be like, oh my God, I know exactly what I do and I fucking own it. And it's different than just, I help X do Y. We're moving beyond this cookie cutter, like, I help these people do this. It's hollow. Okay. It works. I love the mission statement. However, give me some juice. Like, give me some more of what is different about you. Okay. And this forms the basis of your movement. So if you're someone who's created a business, yet you want to take it one step deeper and you want to actually have a movement behind your work, a community of people who are believing and feeling this thing and creating this energy, there has to be a strong movement. And of course, you can just pull something that sounds good. But when you can match that movement up with your X factor, holy freaking power, baby. Oh my God. It is so good because there's an element of you backing it. You are the full living embodiment of it because it's also based on your X factor. This X factor, last thing I'll say on this X factor is also the reason why I don't believe in an oversaturated market at all. If I have people who come to me and say, well, other people have done this before, totally, but no one has done it in the way that you do it for the exact reason why you do it. There's a specific combination of lived experiences, skills, innate gifts that come to you that make your process different. And so believing in the oversaturated market to me, again, is lazy because we haven't actually taken the time to get fully clear on what is it that gives you that open lane in front of you that is completely different than all the rest and gives you that specific take that changes lives. Okay. So where does your X factor actually come from? There are 3 components to your X factor, baby, that's going to build unfuckwithable confidence. The first is your lived experiences. This comes from your childhood, pivotal experiences that have happened within your life, whether they were incredibly challenging or incredibly amazing, and they were your biggest accomplishments. This comes from even the mundane things that have happened because no one has had your unique combination of lived experiences. To me, I always look at experiences as God, universe, source, giving them to you and saying, hey, you're going to need this later. So we're going to give you this experience to teach you this lesson because it's going to give you something that you're going to use to serve in the greater scheme of things. Okay. So we have your lived experiences. The second is your learned skills. I see so often when it comes to getting into personal growth, sometimes people will just throw their learned skills out the window and say, well, those are things I learned in my career, but they're not actually applicable to the movement that I want to create. No, they are all helpful. They are all helpful. So we look at your skills that you've acquired over time, the things that you've learned, maybe in certifications, maybe in courses, maybe in trainings, in different careers that you've had in the past. I personally love to go piece by piece with my clients' careers and pull out these specific things that they were doing that they don't even realize helps them in business moving forward. When you can hone in on that, you're like, oh my God, and I got years of experience to back this up. Amazing. Your skills are gold. The third piece is your innate gifts. So these are your natural talents that you might take for granted, but other people can see them so freaking clearly. So these are the specific ways that you impact others around you. Maybe the specific things that you do or can see in others that people might give you feedback on, but sometimes it might be a little bit hard to see within yourself. And so when we get clear on all 3 of these, They come together to create your specific genius in this lifetime, your X factor. And I wish that I could tell you, yeah, there's one specific question that I can ask you, and then you're going to know exactly what your X factor is. I wish I could, baby. But here's the interesting thing. Your X factor is more so about getting curious and playing like a detective, where we take into account all of these different pieces within your life, all of your experiences, your skills, your innate gifts. And we play like a detective to get really curious and see what is the pattern throughout. So it's all about pattern recognition. What is the pattern throughout of the thing that I've been good at in all of these different places? What is the pattern throughout and all the feedback that I've been given and how that then impacts other people? What is the pattern throughout that gives me that specific edge that makes me a little bit different than the rest? And another thing that I'll be super honest about and say is that sometimes we cannot always see it incredibly clearly within ourselves, yet other people can see it from a mile away. This is because we all have cognitive biases, and there's this thing called this introspective illusion, where sometimes the way that we see ourselves and the things that we pick up on within ourselves isn't as clear as somebody who's coming from a third-party perspective. I see this all the time with clients when I'm pulling out their X factor, and they're like, oh my God, I would have never put those pieces together, yet it's so freaking clear. That's exactly it. I'm like, yes, it makes total sense. So if you're listening to this, sometimes it can be really helpful to borrow other people's reflection of you, or to do this with somebody who you love, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a mentor within your life, so that you can get really, really clear on what your specific edge actually is. So when it comes to actually unlocking your own X factor, you might be like, Steph, this is all great. How do I actually get clear on mine? I'm going to take you through some questions for your X factor. So take a second, write these down. Okay. The first category that we want to dive into is your lived experiences. So I personally like to look at growing up, what did you naturally gravitate towards? What were the things that you did in your free time when you didn't have to be anyplace else? When you were on a team or in a project or a sport, what role did you naturally take on? Were you the team captain and the leader of the group project? Were you someone who was more of a supporting role, but you made sure that the creative side of things was taken care of? Were you the moral support? What was the role that you took on? For me, it's something that's so interesting because it starts to show us a few different pieces of your leadership style. We dive into your past work experiences. What were your likes and your dislikes from those experiences? Where did you really feel most in your genius? Because again, those are absolute gold. Even if they were mundane things where you're like, I don't see that there is any sort of value in this, I promise you, if you trust the process with all of it, you'll start to see patterns throughout. Then we have your learned skills. So this is a little bit more tangible and straightforward. This is truly just what are the skills that you've picked up along the way. This could be trainings, certifications, things that you learned in different careers in the past or different businesses in the past, things that you know that you are good at that you've learned, okay? And then we have our innate gifts. So this is where those reflections from other people can also come in handy, is what have other people told you? I love and will always give my clients the assignment of going to 1 to 3 people who are close to you, who aren't your spouse or your partner or your boyfriend or your family, because they are super close to you and therefore sometimes their perspective can be a little bit skewed. But going to other people like a close friend, like a trusted mentor, somebody who you know has your back, and asking them, what about me actually makes me a good friend? And what are the qualities that you see within me that really impact your own life? And getting those responses, I just had a client do this and she sent it back. She goes, oh my God, I'm crying. This is so real and so true, and connected things for her so beautifully. Then I also invite you to reflect on compliments that you've been given in the past, because sometimes your brain has a way of tricking you because of that introspective bias. And I know for me, for the longest time, I never fully felt confident and really feel like I had the energy of confidence. I thought, oh, well, that's for other people, not necessarily for me. And I remember I was at a networking event and I had a couple of people come up to me and they said, wow, Steph, you're so confident. Like you just have this energy of confidence. And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay, cool. And I was like, that's not really me. That couldn't possibly be me. And then I was reflecting on it and I said, what would happen if just for a second I accepted that as truth? Because my own mind is playing a bunch of tricks on me. My own mind is saying all of these other things. But what if for a second I just borrowed their reflection of how they see me and just tried that on for size? And I just started embodying, yes, I am the one who's confident. I walk into a room, head held high, shoulders back, and I make my presence known. Not through being overly loud, not through being better or worse than anyone else, but just through who I am and having an open heart and being there to serve other people. If I try that on, what happens? And I started to notice I got more reflections of people saying, oh, wow, you're just so confident. I started to feel confident myself, right? So there's power in noticing what are the reflections that you get from trusted people within your life, or just those off comments that you might think nothing of, or you might want to swat away and say, oh, no, that's not me. But if we can actually look at them, again, they become part of this pattern recognition to really see the through line of your own X factor. This can also come through feedback at work or from your clients of what have other people picked up on within you and told you, hey, you're doing a really good job at this. Again, there are always going to be themes throughout, because the reality is most of us human beings walk around thinking that we are just completely random. We're like, yeah, I'm good at this, then I'm good at this, and I'm pretty good at that. And it becomes kind of like this jumbled mess in your mind where you go to actually talk about your expertise. You're like, oh, I can name these different things, but I don't have that that thing that I know that I'm so freaking good at that puts me beyond the rest, that puts me in a different category of my own. We think that we're so random, but in actuality, there is a specific code and an innate genius that is like a pattern throughout all of these different things. And it takes slowing down, writing these things down, and then taking the bird's eye view to actually see, oh my gosh, what's the X factor that's actually congruent in all these different experiences? Once you clarify that, it becomes like a light bulb that goes off in your head where you're like, I didn't even put this together, but it's literally always been there. I recently did this with a client where we were clarifying her X factor, and I was going through all of her past experience, asking her a gazillion questions, because that's what I like to do, around what she's done in the past and her genius and where she feels most alive. And we started looking at it, and I was like, do you see what I'm seeing? And she was like, yeah. She was like, I knew that I was good at things, but I didn't realize that they all aligned. You're actually way more predictable than you realize, because there are specific patterns that are throughout, which to me is why I fucking love this work of purpose so much. Because in getting to know different human beings, their visions, what makes them tick, I start to see that, oh my gosh, literally every single human being has a specific thing that if you take that bird's eye view, you see that all of your experiences actually line up to give you that specific edge. And no one can recreate that. Absolutely no one. Just like no two strands of DNA are the same, no one can replicate your same combination of experiences, skills, and talents that were literally given to you as a part of your purpose in this world. To me, I see this as like the most beautiful puzzle that you will ever uncover. Is how has life, God, source, universe given you all these different things to build exactly where you're going? And that doesn't just come overnight by saying, oh yeah, I'm going to be confident in myself. It comes through actually taking the time to slow down and be intentional with what you're creating. Because if you're here for sustainable success, which means creating growth over time, being in your business for your life, not because you have to, but because it's your life's work and it's fun and it's enlivening, rather than just the quick high and then the downfall. We have to understand, who are you? Who are you, and what gives you that edge, that X factor that brings something different to the conversation and moves you beyond just all these people who are, talking online and spewing the same information into a category of your own. That to me is true purpose. And it doesn't come through replicating what other people have done. It doesn't come through adopting someone else's X factor. It doesn't come through saying, oh, well, this sounds good, let's just go with it. It comes through actually being diligent and looking at these three core pieces that build your X factor. And so one of two things can happen from this place. You listen to this podcast, you're like, okay, awesome, I want to clarify my X factor, and then you forget about it. Or you can actually take the time to go into these questions and just start exploring it on your own. And I promise you, when you find that pattern, you find that code, it is like the most incredible, mind-blowing experience where you're like, holy shoot, everything now makes sense. And it creates that basis for the rest of your confidence, baby. So I invite you to explore, because there is something that is so unique and specific to you. And it's here to create a ripple effect. It's here to be the basis of your movement that magnetizes millions. You're here for an impact. You're here for a purpose. And don't you forget it. If you are listening to this and there's that part of you that's like, heck yes, I want to get clear on what my specific X factor is, throw away the advice of just be confident, just to be confident, and actually have a tangible basis of knowing what makes you an authority in your industry or your field, such that you can create a movement that magnetizes millions and you're ready to have that specific direction. As I've said before, one of the best ways to do this is through reflection, where sometimes we can't always fully see our own X factor, but somebody else can see it from a mile away. And one thing that I will own, baby, is that part of my genius and my X factor happens to be pulling out other people's geniuses. So I would be bonkers not to tell you that there is something super exciting. And typically the only way to work with me is through one of my longer 3 to 6 month programs, whether it's Purpose Mastery or Magnetic Business or VIP one-on-one. Any one-offs that I ever do are only available for alumni. However, I have been having so much freaking fun doing these and seeing the results on the other side that I have decided to open up 3 X factor analysis deep dive one-on-ones with me, where we go in, we pull out all of your past experiences, your skill set, your talents, your mission, and put it together into your own concrete X factor so that you can have the clarity for your movement, knowing exactly what it is that you're here to do, how you are meant to serve, and how that interacts with your purpose in this world, and therefore have that Unf ckwithable confidence that allows other people to trust you and see you as an authority in your field. What this looks like is it's a deep dive one-on-one call with 2 days of Slack support for any questions, and it is the lowest investment available to work with me personally and directly. As I said, I don't typically offer these to the public, so there are only 3 spots available. Once those 3 are taken, they are gone. There's a link to book in the show notes, and I cannot wait to see you there. If there's one thing I can tell you and fully claim, is that your confidence will be 110% transformed by the end of this. I have seen it time and time again. I just did one recently with a past client who came in feeling like, she was like, I know that I'm meant to be an expert, but for some reason I can't put the dots together. I have all the accolades. I have it all right in front of me, but why don't I feel like I can fully claim it and walk into a networking event and say, yes, this is exactly my genius and this is what I have to offer the world? And by the end, she was like, holy freaking cannoli, I already feel more confident. I feel magnetic. And she's ready to freaking go into that networking event, knowing exactly what it is that she offers to the world and gives her that specific edge within her industry. So if you have that little tingle inside where you're like, okay, I think this is for me, just do it. Pull the trigger. I promise you, I'm not God, but if you show up, your confidence will be transformed. That's all I have to say. Leave the rest up to me. I've got you. I love you. And I cannot wait to see you there. Mwah!